Are you outside? It's not as hot. Not yet anyways. Yep, there's a little bit of a breeze. Alright, outside time with Lois. It's actually decent out. It's not hot. Probably will get hot later on. But we'll take this while we can and enjoy this kind of weather. I do have my coffee and book that I'm reading. And we're going to start a book club. While we drink our coffee. It's like a cup anyways. Oh, that's good. Alright, you guys are set up on the tripod. She is right here. She's just sitting here, rolling around, enjoying herself. That's like a good back scratch on the cement. If you have a cup of coffee or tea, cheers. Clink. It's a wonderful day. Okay, so I'm probably going to do a few clips in one video. And when it gets to a certain length, we'll see how many parts I get to. But if you plan on reading this, if this is on your to be read pile and you don't want to know what happens, you don't want spoilers, and then don't watch. But if you are not a book reader, or you're not, you know, big into reading books, and maybe this one isn't on your book list, and you're curious, like I am, and you want to know, you know, how she got sucked into Scientology and what she went through. Let's just say I read the first 5 chapters last night, and if it wasn't bedtime, I would have kept reading the book. It is that good. You just want to keep going. You just can't put it down. So yeah, if you want to know, then keep watching. But I just want to put, like, you know, a warning. If you plan on reading this, you know, then that's okay. You can skip this video, but watch my other videos. Okay? Yeah, okay. So, Troublemaker, Leah Remini, Surviving Hollywood and Scientology. She wrote this 2015. So not too long ago. I think I just found out about it not too long ago. Maybe like a year, maybe like around a year ago. And it's been on my list for that long, but you know, there's always a pile of books I want to read. And I decided to finally just get it from the library, and yeah, and let's say it's good so far. Oh, welcome to book club. Let's get started. Chapter 1. Now I'm not going to read word by word, otherwise we'd be here forever, but I'll just give you like the gist of it, and some of it I will read because some of it is just Scientology is just awful, 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 awful. The people are just awful, and you will be shaking your head. Like, I was reading it and I was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah. Alright, so as a kid, she remembers like watching, she grew up watching I Love Lucy, Welcome Back Carter, Happy Days, Gilligan's Island, Three Companies, All in the Family, all those good, you know, classic shows. Shows that if they were made today, probably would not be made. So she loved the idea of trying to make people laugh. So as a kid, she would put on shows recreating skits from the Carol Burnett show and singing Donnie and Marie songs in the living room. Her older sister reluctantly played her sidekick. Yeah, whether she wanted to or not. So when she was 9 years old, she heard the Broadway musical Annie was holding open auditions for the lead role. Okay, and she didn't let the fact that she absolutely had no singing talent or acting experience to stop her, you know, from auditioning. Her mom supported her, believing that, you know, one day she would be an actress. So a playwright friend of hers taught her the song Tomorrow and took her to the group audition. And she got her headshots done, everything. And She had in her head that the people of Annie would see this little gem from Brooklyn and would want to hire me on the spot, but I was still willing to sing for them if need be. And you know, if you watched her, you know, like she can't sing, you know, off key, you know, but you know, no, she's not the best singer, but she's great at making people laugh. Okay, so she auditions for the role. It's a huge theater. Her number gets called, and if this door's open, because if it's closed, she will go back in, and she's just right here. Yeah, it always has to be open. Okay, that's why I'm a door person. Unless like she goes that way and I'll follow it, but it still stays open. Okay, so yeah, okay, huge theater, her number gets called. The image running through my mind was that a front page headline in the New York Post. Brooklyn girl with no experience, nabs Annie role. Whatever I lacked in terms of dancing or singing, someone could teach me. I had the shazpa, what did I say? How do you say it? Yes, shazpa to land the part. And as for my long, straight brown hair, well, that's what wigs are for. And with that, I was off to hand the director my picture. But as soon as my name was called and I got on stage facing the director, all those people sit in the darkened theater, I went blind with panic. So needless to say, it didn't go well. The director told her, you know, go home to mommy. Yeah. And she burst into tears even before she got off the stage. And, you know, she couldn't catch her breath. Her mom's friend, the one who taught her the song and brought her to the audition, took her for a slice of pizza and discussed how the director would regret not hiring me and how Annie would bomb without me. The show Annie would suffer big time without me in it. Yeah. Oh. Okay, so her mom and dad end up separating and eventually do get a divorce. Now, her dad wasn't the nicest person because of the way he was raised. So he never hit her, but she was scared of the man, you know. Yeah, he was a Sicilian origin. He used hairspray on his remaining 3 hairs. Wore a rope chain and pinky ring, got his nails done, and kept his car, Cadillac, of course, perfectly clean and smelling good, with one of those scented trees that hang from the rearview mirror. And she was like scared, you know what, of him, like, yeah. He never hit her, but her older sister would get smacked. He would say, "You're older, you should know better." And that's what he would say to her, and yeah. Yeah. So, needless to say, she was terrified of him. Let me see. Yeah, he would say to them, like, idiots, get into your rooms. Yeah, and he was only raising us the way he had been raised, but anytime he was around, I was tense, even when he was trying to be kind. For example, one time when I came to the dining room table, I found a paper bag on my chair, so I didn't sit down. "What are you doing?" "Oh, sorry, what are you going to do? Stand there?" he asked, looking at me. What's the right answer? I didn't want to say the wrong thing, so I didn't say anything. "Pick up the bag, idiot," my dad said. Thinking this was some kind of trick, I nervously picked up the bag and opened it. Inside was a doll. By the time I realized what it was, however, I was so wound up that I started to cry. "What's wrong with you?" Dad started yelling. "Someone tries to give you a gift and you're crying?" I couldn't catch my breath to explain. I remember once when I carelessly shoved a box of cookies into the kitchen cabinet, my dad walked by, saw what I was doing, and said, "What kind of flippin' animal puts cookies back this way?" He grabbed the box and threw the cookies across the room. Can you imagine living with that? Like, no wonder why she was terrified. Like, yeah. When it was just my mom, it was a different world. Vicky was fun, free-spirited, kind of like a hippie. She didn't believe in sugar. She wore her hair part down the middle with barrettes. holding it back on the sides. But she always had a look like she was a little bit of trouble. There was not a whole lot of rules with her. She was an only child with her mother and father, who were Jewish, died when she was very young. She went to live with an aunt who made it very clear she hated my mother. Because my mom didn't have structure or a traditional mother in her own childhood, she never learned that role, nor did she want to. Yeah. Yeah. That's just chapter 1. Yeah. Oh. And Lois went back inside. Okay, let me see. Okay, so here's how they got into Scientology. Her mom started to date a guy named Dennis, her boyfriend, who she brought home when she was 7 years old after she divorced her dad. Okay, so in comparison to my dad, Dennis was a bit of a geek with his glasses, pants belted up high on his waist, and mustache. But he was also very sweet and didn't make me feel tense when he was around like my dad did. Dennis immediately put Nick and me at ease when he gave us a speech. "I'm not trying to be your dad. You already have one of those. Look at me as a friend. I love your mother and I will love you." My sister and I liked his spirit, but we were going to have to work on his look, starting with getting a little dippity-doo into that hair. Okay, so Dennis was easy going and playful, just like my mom. They would do things like have water fights where they run into our house, into our room to use Nick and me as a human shield, like they are like human shields while they try to throw cupfuls of water at each other. He didn't dismiss us or try to shoo us away like everyone else did in the neighborhood did. Instead, he looked us right in the eye and took everything he said seriously, even though we were just kids. Mom said it was because he was a Scientologist. And there you have it. That's how she got sucked into it. Yeah. I didn't know what that meant. Some kind of scientist maybe, and I didn't really care either. I lazed on until my mother started going to the city by herself and not coming back until late at night. Okay. "Where do you go, Ma?" asked one night over chicken cutlets at the kitchen table when it seemed like it had been forever since she'd been home for dinner. "I go to this church," she said. "But aren't you Jewish?" I asked. The only church I knew of was the Catholic one that we often attended with my grandmother, my father's mother, who lived in Little Italy. This is the Church of Scientology. This church isn't about God and saints. It's about helping you live your life better. Like the course I'm doing now, I'm learning that if you do something bad, even if it's a little, if you're a good person, you feel bad about it, and what happens is that in your mind, that little thing becomes a big thing, and that leads you to feel bad about yourself, which then leads to do more bad things. All these bad things, no matter how small, are called overts, and if you don't get those overts off, you will do worse things. That was so confusing. I had to read that quite a few times, because at first when I read that, I was like, what? You know, like, I just that doesn't make sense. Like, okay, yeah. So that's how her and her sister and the mom got sucked into Scientology, unfortunately. So the mom said, "If you don't want to be here by yourself, come meet me in the city after school and check out the church." And that's what her and her sister did the next day. They took the subway all by themselves, which is just crazy. Yeah. In the city. Church of Scientology of New York. Yeah. We were told that L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology, developed discoveries of existence, which give you the know-how to overcome ups and downs, to know who you can trust, to organize your life, to achieve goals, and much more. Yep. Oh, and the mom was working for Scientology too. Yeah, she got a job. Yeah. And what you do is like you take course after course after course after course, but you have to pay for the courses out of your own pocket. But you don't go anywhere. You can take all the courses you want, but you don't go anywhere. Yeah. They just want the money. Okay, so let me just. Yeah, I think that's what they started to do. They started to take courses. Oh, and the father, okay, so they would see their father on the weekends, and let me see. Of course, he didn't agree, you know, that they were doing that. Oh yeah, okay, so after school on weekends, Nick and I would do a course, which would take a minimum of 2.5 hours a day, a run on average for 2 weeks, for a week or two, but then we'd have to wait around for about 7 hours until mom was done working. Like, come on. Yeah. It's just like poppycock. Scientology was our life, not just in New York, but also back in Brooklyn, where our mom started adapting the training routines to everyday scenarios. Yeah. I understood that Scientology was about following the precepts laid down in the policy by leader L. Ron Hubbard, but if you did that, your life would be good. But if you commit overts or transgressions and didn't talk about them, didn't Scientology courses and auditing that you would receive something back. I mean, bad back from the universe, and the only way to really do things right for yourself in the universe was to stay connected to the church. But just don't, like, no. Get away from the church, you know? Oh, you know, sorry, no, it's not a church. Get away from the cult. Yeah. Like, run. Don't look back. Scientology was so very powerful to me as a child, because finally, after feeling subpar for so long because I never had the right clothes, apartment, furniture, food, toys, you name it, I now had something on other people. Traveling to the city, taking responsibility from actions, working on my communication skills, all contributed to my sense of superiority. I could do things my friends couldn't, like steal leg warmers without getting in trouble, because now I had this technology and they didn't. I use words like affinity, which as a kid was pretty awesome, or you don't have to yell, just communicate. I would say to my friends' mothers, they were impressed that I could use a multi-symbol word. My dad, however, wasn't so impressed. After he moved out of our apartment, he moved into a big house with Donna, the woman who became my stepmom. My sister and I spent weekends there with him and Donna, and then their 2 daughters, Elizabeth and Stephanie, and Donna's daughter, Christina. And during visits to my dad's more often than not, he would complain about my mother. Does your mother ever brush your hair? He said, looking at me. What, are you homeless? Doesn't your mother take care of you, or is she too busy with that cult? So yeah, he did not approve. So around that time, the C organization recruiters came to talk to Mom and Dennis and then us girls. I did not even know they had a C organization that was funded by L. Ron Hubbard in 1967 to staff his 3 ships on which he'd taken up residence. After the UK denied his visa extension, he wanted to live outside the jurisdiction of any government and away from the media. Gee, I wonder why. And he said he was continuing research. He produced the OT levels on the ships. These levels, OT is short for operating thetan or thetan, are the secret advanced levels of the Scientology bridge that you move onto only after you achieve a state of clear. Originally, the people with him were sailors brought on to keep the ships running. The crews then started taking on more functions within Hubbard Sea Org, and the main ship Apollo grew into a center for training Scientology staff from around the world. Those people who were with Hubbard and the Sea Organization were entrusted with high-level functions, secrets, and control of Scientology, internationally tasked with clearing that planet through multiple lives, as they were reincarnated over and over for eternity. Okay, yeah, I don't think so. That's just crazy. Alright, so the recruiters told Mom and Dennis, this is the best thing for you, for the planet. You have a responsibility. Look at your girls. What are they doing? They're going down the wrong path. They're hanging around bad people, a criminal element. What kind of life is that? By this time, I was going through a combo package phase. I wore only Adidas, had a mullet saying, I don't know, Medua songs, even though I didn't speak Spanish, and hung out in Crosby Park with a bunch of break dancers. At least that's what I thought they were. As it turns out, they were also part-time drug dealers. But she didn't know that. Yeah. Because back then, everybody carried a fanny pack. So the recruiters preyed on my mom's concern for us to have better life and her devotion to the religion. They said, your girls can do what they want to do in a Sea Org. Leah can act right away in the Scientology movies, and Nicole can train to be a lawyer for the church. The planet is going downhill. Your help is needed. And in the end, what will your answer to this question? Did you help? Oh, yeah. Mom and Dennis had already committed themselves to Scientology and by hook, line, and sinker, and now they were told they needed to do more. And that is what they did. Yeah. So who could blame Mom and Dad for signing us all up for that? So that is chapter 1. Crazy. Okay, chapter 2. Okay, so they pack up their bags, they get on the plane in Tampa. And Dennis, okay, so they're married now, okay. Dennis stays behind to take care of a few things. Their mom is pregnant, okay, 3 months pregnant. So Dennis is getting rid of everything in the apartment, okay, to accumulate more money. So because they knew they wouldn't be making much after this point, he planned to join in a few weeks. He never joined them. He found somebody else. And they got divorced. Yeah. Yeah, dirtbag. So they... I see. So they get so they get where they're going, okay, and this is where like you start realizing, like, you always knew that Scientology is awful, but you don't realize how awful they are until you start reading about them. So they make their way to the baggage claim, okay. They get their suitcases, and the mom kept looking around as if someone was going to pick them up, right? You would think, okay, if you're going somewhere, they're offering you a new position and you don't know where anything is, that somebody would be there upon your arrival to pick you up. But nobody was there. No. Yeah. So the mom called somebody and she like, where are you? She yelled, don't have money for a cab. Okay, fine, I'll get one now, but somebody better be there to pay for it. Yeah. It's just crazy. Yeah. Alright, so after a half an hour drive, we arrive at the Fort Harrison, a historic hotel that had fallen into despair before L. Ron Hubbard bought it in 1975 with the idea of turning Clearwater into a spiritual headquarters for all Scientology. The large old school lobby looked like the kind you see in horror movies. Yeah. No one was there to receive us. When someone finally showed up, we were escorted to a cabana room near the pool. We were allowed to stay there among paying parishioners until space opened up for us. What was to become a regular berthing or housing for members of the Sea Org. We were among Scientologists who have flown in from all over the country to do the service. Blah blah blah. Yeah. So eventually we moved 30 minutes away from the Fort Harrison to what would be our new home. We pulled into what looked like a deserted motel. It was a Quality Inn. Yeah, this Quality Inn was running very low on quality. It was shabby, disgusting, and depressing. The pool we passed on the way to our room was literally a swamp. The Sea Org member who was showing us around said to my mom, "Vicky, you come with us and the girls are going to the girls' dorm. The only way you could get to your own room is if you were married or had a baby. That's the only way you can get your own room." Wow. Our room, one that was normally accommodated one double bed, was cramped with 3 bunk beds with 6 girls. And our tight acid wash jeans, crop t-shirt, mullets. Yeah. Definitely didn't look like any Scientologists they knew. Yeah. So from there they were shown where everything is, where to report for meals. The breakfast was served from 6 to 7:15. Oh boy, I would be making breakfast. Yeah. Oh, and you have to sign a contract. You have to sign a contract. Yeah, to be there. Yeah. So I looked at the contract and was baffled. I was asked to pledge myself for an eternal commitment to the Sea Org for 1 billion years. And how long do I think we're on this earth for? Like, what the heck? 1 billion years? Like that's just so stupid. It's like, and she's like, "Mom, we gotta sign this?" "Yes, you have to sign it." "Nick, are you going to be here in 1 million years?" "Yeah," she said. "Are you?" "Oh, definitely." "What are we going to look like?" "Real ducking old." Just replace the D with an F. We both started to laugh, but Mom shot us a look, and then we both signed. Can you imagine? Like, come, I would have laughed right in their face. Like, do you realize nobody's going to be around? Like, nobody lives that long. So yeah, after they signed their ability contracts, they were part of the Sea Org training for new recruits. It was like a boot camp. Yeah, hard labor, pulling up tree roots with bare hands, working heavy machinery on the grounds, cleaning bathrooms and hotel rooms. And then 2.5 hours each day, we would do the basic courses. And you learned the Sea Org policy rules, what it meant to be a member. Yeah, we were all given a detailed check sheet which lists all the actions we need to take in order to complete each course. The first course being how to study Scientology. How about you don't study it? Yeah. Yeah, it's just crazy. They don't have definitely don't have a childhood. Yeah, one of the members labeled her as a troublemaker. Yeah. Alright, so okay, so well, okay, you're going to, okay, so they're talking about rules, and they're like, okay, we don't know the rules, and, well, you're going to have to figure them out, because I'm putting you in charge of Sandcastle Hotel crew, he said, looking at me. Me, I was 13 years old. Again, in Scientology, children and adults are viewed equally. What the heck? You know, like, I can't wrap my head around some of this stuff, because it's like a 13-year-old, that's way too much responsibility for a 13-year-old. They're, you know, they're still a child. They're not technically an adult, right? And it's just, oh my gosh, it's so messed up. So it wasn't odd to them that I might be in charge of some adults on my watch as well. I now have responsibilities that no teenager back in Brooklyn could imagine. I was learning something here, and in this weird environment that combined lots of freedom and lots of structure. Yeah, they made us do hard labor all day, but I was no longer being treated like a child. It's just, wow, yeah. Gotta stay the course. Yeah, it's just, it's something else. Alright, so, and she did get in trouble because, like, one day she did all her tasks and did her, you know, study, and so she thought she didn't have to check with anybody to, like, be able to, like, lie around the pool, okay? When one of the people walked by, the client took a double look and went, "What are you doing?" Like, the thought that I might need to clear my plan with anybody hadn't even crossed my mind. I consider myself an executive of the Sea Org now. And just like, I've read the policy, and he's like, "Get up and clean all these decks and meet me at the dock," he said, and stormed off. Yeah. Okay, so, okay, he was, yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah, this is just abuse because, okay, so she met him, he was dead silent, his eyes and his weather-beaten face staring off the horizon until we were so far out that the marina was no longer visible. Then he cut the engine, they were on a boat, and started screaming. He started screaming at her, like, "Never do you sit in a public place. You are Sea Org members. Don't you know that the pool at that hotel is for paying guests only, not for you to be enjoying? Do you understand me?" he yelled. Actually, he was shouting so loud I almost couldn't decipher what he was saying. Was he even speaking English? I wasn't sure. I said, "It's yes, sir." I thought I was calling LRH and rewarding my team, and I didn't know who these paying Scientology people were, but I was a Sea Org member from Brooklyn cleaning the planet. So just like I practiced with a call back home, I pushed down my emotions, got my TRs in, and stay silent. I mean, maybe Mike didn't know LRH had written me personally that I had come back from another life. Hello. Mike kept trying to get me to say yes, sir, but I couldn't do it. Then he picked me up, and before I even realized what was happening, he threw me overboard. The shock of the moment in freezing water took my breath away, and for an instant I thought I was going to drown, but I sputtered and began frankly dogpiling. "Yes, sir," Mike shouted. I couldn't do it. The words just wouldn't come out. Once I gathered myself, I calmed down. The waves were choppy, but I was okay. I could swim. I began to tread water. This had become a battle as far as I was concerned, although I wasn't sure if I could win. Mike, who was following a policy practiced by LRH, called overboarding, which entails throwing a crew member overboard as a form of reprimand, picked me up by my shirt again. By this time, it was to pull me back into the boat. We returned to the marina in silence. I was soaking wet and humiliated of what happened, but there was part of me that deep down thought Mike Clay might respect me for not backing down. That is abuse. Abuse, 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 abuse. Like, oh, yeah. Yeah. Alright, so a few weeks later, they go to visit their father, and he asks what you've been doing in Florida, and she says she's a housekeeper. And he's like, "Your mother moved you to a cult to be a housekeeper?" "Well, yeah, we clean hotel rooms that people pay money to stay in." "You're learning to clean hotel rooms? That's what you're learning?" "Well, yeah, but we just got there as part of basic training." "How much you making?" $15 a week. That's it, $15 a week. Yeah. then he tells her that housekeepers make $125 a week, and you're making lousy 15 bucks. Yeah. You are getting ripped off. Alright, so they're making progress with their training. Oh, and this is disgusting. Okay, this is disgusting. Okay. Okay, well, she's making progress. Okay, with her training. Okay, going the right direction. There was one thing I couldn't come to terms with. I thought a lot about my infant sister Shannon, a sweet little blonde, blue-eyed thing. Whenever I could, I would visit her in the nursery, where she stayed during the day when my mom was working. Nursery was a charitable term for the motel room in a quality inn filled with cribs, crying, neglected, flies, and smell of dirty diapers. The only ventilation came from a huge fan from the window. How the heck did they get away with that? Hello, you come back? Yeah. That is disgusting. Those poor kids. So this was where Sea Org members and staff dropped off their babies at 7 in the morning and then picked them up at 10 in the evening when their workday was over. Yeah, awful. Like, if that doesn't make you hate Scientology more than it already does, I don't know what will. Like, that is just disgusting. Yeah. The neglect was overwhelming. I would immediately demand that the person on post clean up and change the babies. I would sometimes have I would leave my post for a while to take Shannon out of there. I complained to my mother about it, and she complained to her seniors, who threatened that she would be taken off the job and demoted. Oh my gosh. That's not, ugh. She continued to voice her concerns about it, and they told her to write up a report, but nothing was ever done. It really weighed on me, though I was buying into the program. It raised a question inside me. Well, I didn't care so much about me. I wondered if we were doing it right by the baby. It was by this time that my mother revealed that we had no home to return to. Dennis wasn't coming to join us after all. At first he made excuses that he could accumulate more money by staying behind, but ultimately he had found someone else and got rid of the apartment and moved on. What a jerk. Yep. They were officially divorced. Yep. Isn't that awful? So they had to stay where they were because they had nowhere to go. And her mom said, I promise you girls, it will get better. Right, that is the end of chapter 2. I wonder how long this is. Yeah. Chapter 3. So Nicole and I were now put on post with the rest of the Sea Org. Like the adults, we worked 14-hour days and picked up the wonderful adult habits of drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes. Yeah. Oh, and they also did not go to traditional school. Okay, this is also messed up. I'm not sure how they got away with this either. Scientology obeyed by the idea that as long as you were on course, getting an education in Scientology, going to traditional school was not all that important. Your education in Scientology, the main goal, which was to teach you how to learn Scientology, was the imperative. We were taught that getting Scientology education was the equivalent of getting a doctorate in the real world. Who cares about calculus when you're cleaning the planet? Like, how do they get away with that? Like, how? Like, they get away with a lot, and like, I think it's time to, like, yeah, hammer, yeah, crack down on them, like, enough, yeah. Okay, so in the program, like, you know, in a cult, she met a girl named Sherry, and she got along with her. Now, Sherry's story is very sad. Okay, so as a child herself, this is about Sherry. She was frequently left in charge of the babies and children in the day, going on walks when she pushed 2 strollers at a time. Her brother Stefan had already joined Sea Org a year earlier and was at Flag when recruiting from New York org came to DC to find new candidates for the Sea Org. With her parents' approval, the recruiters agreed to be Sherry's guardians. So at the age of 11, she was shipped to New York. All alone in a big strange city, she was left to fend for herself. The recruiters were her guardians legally, but they did nothing to care for her. People need to get charged. Like, no one made sure I brushed my teeth or had a winter coat, she said. She had been there only a week when an executive screamed at her. Sherry called her mom to see if she could go home, but her mom said she needed to stick it out. This type of thinking becomes a parent's This type of thinking becomes a parent's reality. There I go. Everything is about the church, the bigger picture. Parents refer back to the policy for major and minor decisions, looking on to the phrase, what does LRH say? Who the heck cares what he says? I know. After that, Sherry barely had any contact with her family. Phone calls and letters were rare, and she visited her mother and stepfather for only 1 week every other year. Every other year. Can you imagine? Like, like, awful. Awful, 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 awful. Alright, so they had been at Flag for, you know, where they were for months. And they really got into the Sea Org with them. They would get on the bus at 8 in the morning and were on post for the next 14 hours, smoke and drink coffee throughout, and develop systems for pretty much everything. She even had a system for dealing with the roach-infested dorm room. Yeah, turn on the lights and wait for them to scatter before you jump onto your bed. Despite the long work days and specific protocols, I found openings and made the system work for me. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's just awful. I mean, I really don't know how they get away with this stuff. Like, alright, so I thought I was recording, but I wasn't when I looked up. What happened? Alright, alright, so one of the challenges Nicole and I was keeping track of these many policies. There were so many, they were so hard to keep straight that we didn't always know what we were breaking, when we were breaking a rule. That's what happened one day when the 2 of us were walking through a building while on post. A girl around our age walking in front of us stopped when she got to a door, paused in front of it, and told us to open it for her. Are your arms broken? Nicole said. Open your own ducking door. I'm a messenger. What are you delivering? Alright, I am back. I had to take a phone call. My mom called. Alright, so where were we? We had no idea that she was a member of the Commodores Messenger Org, CMO, or even what that was. Well, we found out soon enough when we were routed to the Department of Inspections and Reports, otherwise known as Ethics, the departments that deal with enforcing policy. Yep. So when you're talking, they're talking to whoever in charge, okay, of that department. So when you're talking to a messenger, you are talking to LRH, the MAA said. And when you're disrespectful to a messenger, you're being disrespectful to LRH. He showed us all these policies about messengers and said that from now on we were to address all CMOs as Sir or Mr., no matter what their gender. Yeah. And she, Leah, she wanted to be a messenger. Yeah. She never did though. Oh my gosh, yeah. Okay, so a few days after the messenger incident, Nicole, my mom, and I were summoned to the ethics office in the CMO building. The ethics officer told me that he had an acknowledged report that a friend of mine had written up about me. Acknowledged reports are a system of Scientologists reporting on one another. Tattletaling. Basically setting up the idea that not telling on your friends bars their freedom as well as makes you an accessory to the crime. It's like a systematic tattletaling. The report he had on me stated that Danny Burns, my first boyfriend, who I claimed as soon as I arrived at Flag and Kissed a lot, had touched, but it's just like, you know, touched her in certain places. Let's see, sex before marriage was forbidden for members of the Sea Org, but they were just, you know, kissing, just doing what normal teenagers do, you know. Alright, so okay, I don't think that was policy, yeah. Okay, so yeah, a report got written on her sister Nicole and her boyfriend, saying that they were having sex, but they weren't true. Nicole was like a nun about that stuff, and we were both, you know, still virgins. The MAA was eventually alarmed and called the code red. 2 highly trained security officers of the church, a pair of 15-year-olds, launched an investigation into our so-called sexual perversions. They burst into our dorm room, rifled through our drawers, and found a pair of underwear with lace on it. You know, baby doll pajamas. That was their evidence. Like, poppycock. Like, honestly. The ethics officer told my mother that he had no other choice but to send us both to RPF. Nicole had been melting off to MA earlier and was being accused of upsetting him with her hostile communication. I guess duck you could be interpreted that way. The mention of the RPF, the Rehabilitation Project Force, sent a chill down my spine. I knew what that was from. Okay, I knew what that was from seeing RPF members in their musters, which were the formations we all had to assemble in at NAC or gathering, beginning of day, end of meals, group announcements, you name it. We got in our proper musters for it. The RPF mustered separately from the rest of us, so they were easily to identify. In 110 degree Florida heat and humidity, these men, women, and even children were forced to wear all black from head to toe as they did heavy MEAST work. MEAST is an acronym for matter, energy, space, and time, like cleaning grease traps in the kitchen or scrubbing dumpsters, and that wasn't all they had to do for their spiritual rehabilitation. That's a tongue twister. They also had to run everywhere they went, to the bathroom, to the galley, anywhere. They had virtually no liberties. As long as they were in the RPF, they worked pretty much 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And that's not including all time spent doing security checks for their transgressions, no matter how high they had been in the organization. That is just BS. BS. Before they landed in the RPF, they had to call everyone, even EPFers, the lowest from the Sea Org, sir, and they were not allowed to speak unless spoken to. The RPF was the ultimate form of punishment, and your time there could last for months or even years, during which you basically weren't considered a person. Who do they have to smack around? Like, that is just awful. Absolutely not, my mom said. My girls aren't going to the RPF, thank goodness. The MAA stared at my mother, and she stared right back with her green eyes that could be childlike or very, very hard. In that moment, she reverted from her Scientology self to the Brooklyn survivor. My sister and I were frozen as we watched the silent standoff between the two adults to see who was going to win. My mother requested a fitness board referring to a council that could determine our fitness as members of the Sea Org. We had heard this was a way to get out of the Sea Org without too many repercussions. The council would eventually ask the question, are you here on your own determinism? And you would respond no and be told to leave. Shortly thereafter, we began packing. Shirley, who had been asked to, that's her friend, ethics officer, to write up a report on anything she knew about my physical relationship with Danny, was sad to see me go. And I was sad to say goodbye, but she wasn't surprised. You have a strong personality and they don't want that in the Sea Org. You're more trouble than you're worth, she said. I'm surprised you lasted as long as you did. And that was chapter 3. Okay, chapter 4, which is pretty short. So they ended up going to LA. Despite everything that happened, my mom still believed in Scientology and our family's place in it, and so did I. In moving to LA and joining up with other Scientologists, we looked forward to the security of this larger group or community. Even though Nicole and I didn't make it in the Sea Org, that didn't mean we didn't have a place in clearing the planet. Yeah, we didn't have any money, but thankfully a friend of my mother's from Brooklyn who lived in LA offered to take us in. As a Scientologist herself, she said the church was really strong out there. LA has the greatest concentration Scientologists in the world. California was nothing like what Nicole and I thought it was going to be. My mom's friend, her husband, let us sleep on the floor of the apartment. We now included baby Shannon, mother's new boyfriend, another new boyfriend, George, whom Shannon met in Clearwater, and his 2 teenage sons. By the time we arrived in California, I should have technically been in 9th grade, but because I missed an entire year of school while in Florida, I was enrolled at King Junior High School. Not very inspired to return to school, Nicole and I persuaded our mother to let us quit. She felt as most Scientologists that studying Scientology is more important than getting a traditional education. So as long as we were on course, my mom was okay with it. Plus, I would say things like, Mom, I'm going to be an actress. I will hire an accountant who went to school, I promise. Yeah, I don't know how people get away with that. Like, you know, now that we were no longer enrolled in school, we immediately set out to get jobs. Everyone in our family was hustling to find work, since we all need to chip in to eat, pay electricity, make the car payments, and stay on the course. Our religion didn't come free. That's not a religion. That's a cult. The course Nick and I were taking were still introductory, so they weren't expensive compared to what it costs to do more advanced courses. Still, the range of those courses, $45 to $300 per course. That was a fortune to us. That's a fortune to me. Plus, I was starting with a deficit. After I left the Sea Org, I was saddled with what's called a freeloader's debt. Sea Org members take courses for free in exchange for being on post. But if you leave of your own violation or thrown out for found unfit, you owe the church money for those free courses. It's all about the money for them. Yep. So she wasn't allowed to be on course again until she paid her debt. BS. Yeah. Alright, so she tried to take up a telemarketing position. That didn't work out. No. Which just reminds me when Phoebe took a telemarketing job. Yeah. Okay, and then she was a waitress, and she did like that job. That was one job that she liked. And there was a regular customer, a guy named John Futris, who owned a Scientology, they're everywhere, graphic design company called JFI, a few doors down. They printed all the church's literature. Okay, so John was always smiling, but he was in a pain in the arse with his muffin order. I would like a blueberry muffin with a top cut off but not in half. The top should be smaller than I want. Then I want 2 parts of butter, one on the top and one on the second half. But make sure the butter's not frozen, so warm it up a little in your hand first, and then a coffee and a half and half, 1 sugar every day. Oh my gosh, that's just so confusing. This went on for a couple of months until one day when John asked me what I really want to do, and I told him eventually I want to become an actress. That was her goal, and he said, I believe you'll be a great actress one day. Okay. He said before asking me if I typed and I wanted a job that paid more, she said yes. So she quit that day and started up as a secretary, but then she couldn't type, so he fired her as his secretary, and hired her as his assistant, and that didn't last long either. No. Sherry, who was dating actress Juliette Lewis' brother Lightfield about getting me an agent, so that's how she got an agent. Sherry had left Flag and the Sea org about a year after I did, returning home to DC, where she got a part-time job at a coffee shop and did some door-to-door sales. She wasn't in school, and she and her mother weren't getting along. Shocker. We kept in touch and knew how unhappy she was, so I told her to come meet me in New York when I went back to visit my dad, and once there I convinced her to come to live with us in LA. Okay, so when George and her mom are married, and yeah, Sherry was eager to help me out, and as promised, Lightfield introduced me to an agent. And I wanted her to lose her accent, which was a big mistake, because then they told her later on to keep it, because that's part of who she is. And she went to the casting, and okay, so she got an audition. Her audition didn't last too long. I don't think it went, yeah, it didn't go well, and they said, okay, you know, they gave her, I'm gonna call you. Yeah, you're just a little, okay, so you're just a little new at auditioning, so I'm not going, okay, I am not having you come back tomorrow. Ugh, sorry. You're just a little new at auditioning, so I am not having you come back, so I am having you come back tomorrow for our producers. Because you are very green. Don't worry though, I know you now, and I'm going to keep you in my pocket. I am going to call you, I promise. But I did worry. I walked out of the studio defeated. I had blown it. It's my big chance to be an actress. Yeah. And then she called his secretary, and what's up, P.S. I'm sorry, I was just so nervous. I didn't know, I thought I already had the job. I can do better. Please give me another chance. I was nervous, not prepared. I don't know if it was because I was crying so hard and it felt like he felt sorry for me. But John said, okay, come back tomorrow at 4. There's a producer session. Maybe you'll do better. Okay, I'll definitely do better. I thanked John for the second chance, told him I wouldn't let him down, and I called my agent's office, where I left word with her assistant about what happened. I was pretty pleased with myself until later that day when I got a call from my agent screaming at me. If you ever harass a casting director again, she yelled. Wait a minute, he told you I harassed him? You listen to me. You don't call them directly. That's not the way it's done here in Hollywood. God, if you pull a stunt like this again, I'm going to drop you so fast. Boy, you'd be sorry if you ever did drop her. You know, you would be an idiot. Yeah. Yeah. Alright, so she thought that, you know, he actually told her agent that, and like she was calling him a-hole. I thought you're going to be my buddy instead of you complain to my agent that I'm harassing you, you know. And John told me to shut up and went on to say that he never said anything like that to my agent. He explained that he had called Nellie's office the day before to confirm the appointment and let her know there would be more people in the room so that I'd be prepared. He had told her assistant that I have done to get back in the room with him. Look, he said, your agent said that because you had the balls to call me, and I'm telling you now, I don't want you to change, Leah. Don't listen to her or people like her. You did what your heart told you to do, and I hope you always do. Thank you, John. I said, no problem. Sorry for calling you an arsehole. No worries. Yeah. Alright, so let me see. So she got hundreds of it's not going to go any further, you know, rejection after rejection. Each time I went to an audition, my mom would say, I know you're going to get this part, and each time I had to come home and tell her that I didn't, that we were going to eat Taco Bell again for dinner, that we couldn't buy furniture, and my mother never discouraged me. It broke my heart having to face up this failure in her eyes. It killed me that I couldn't help my family and that we were living this way. I understood this failure of not landing any of the roles I auditioned for to be 100% my fault. According to Scientology, I either wasn't applying the technology I learned well enough, or I wasn't applying it correctly. I didn't give up either in the church or as an actress, and finally I was rewarded with something good. John Levy wore the producers down until they agreed to give me a small walk-on part on my first line on none other than head of the class. It was 1988 when I arrived on the set, my favorite show. It was the first time I'd been on a comedy set. Instantly I knew I was home. The smell of the stage, the heat of the lights, the energy from the audience when they cheered each cast member, and then when actor guys first laughed, the sound was a drug. I want this. I want to make people feel this. So I knew I had to make an impression, even though I had a pretty non-script part. I was in a scene where 3 girls walked by Eric, my future hubby. The first says, hi Eric, 3 o'clock, don't forget, and walks off stage. The next girl, hi Eric, 3:30, don't forget. And finally me, hi Eric, 3:40, don't forget. How was I going to separate myself from other girls with that one line? I decided to add a dramatic pause and wink. When it was my turn, I took a deep breath and went for it. Hi Eric, 3:40, wink, don't forget. Cut, the director said. That's great. Now you can cut all that other stuff you're doing and just say your line and walk off like everybody else, okay, doll? Doll? That's cute. Maybe he really wasn't saying the magic before him. I'll do it one more time after that. After all, he called me doll. I cut the wink, but I kept the dramatic pause. What did I tell you about the other poop? You're adding in this. Just say your line and get out. Okay, will do. So I cut the wink and the pause and added only a little look back at the end, like one of those you do if a guy's checking you out. Let's take a camera break here, he said. Cool, I thought. They see the magic before them. I think they will have a meeting now and discuss how to add me into the show. The director called John Levy to the set. Are you deaf or annoying? John told me when he arrived. They want to recast you because you're so annoying. You're not taking direction. You've got to listen. This is not your moment. Steven Spielberg's not going to see this episode of Heads of Class, and he was right. And it wasn't going any further. That is the end of chapter 5, and this is the end of of part 1 of a book club, chapters 1 through 5. So, alright, I'm not sure how long this is, but 5 5 chapters in, really, really good, and I cannot believe the poop that they get away with, honestly. So far, it's like, how the heck are they getting away with this? You know, they're awful people. I'm so glad she got out of it, though. I'm glad. But yeah, so if you want more chapters, I'll do like maybe 5 at a time, depending on how long they are, and I'm gonna keep reading on, and I'll see you guys here for part 2 of book club. Alright, thanks for joining me. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Take care, be blessed, and happy reading, and ta-ta for now. Bye!